Good morning. Happy December. Happy holidays. Hanukkah's tomorrow, right? Christmas coming up. Oh my gosh. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited to see all these beautiful faces here. Sorry it's drizzly today, but it's not too bad yet. I am so glad that you all took the time to come out today, spend some time with us. I'm just so impressed with all the lifelong learners that we have here in our community, because we'll just keep presenting different information, different topics, as long as there's a need and a want and a hunger to continue to learn. And good for you, because our whole purpose with the Savvy Seniors Living Seminars is to engage, educate, and empower you all with the facts and the truth so you can make the right decisions for your lives, for your lifestyle now and in the future. Because every situation is different, and only you are the ones that can make those decisions. So, congratulate yourselves. We have a very special panel of subject experts today who I will introduce in a minute. I always like to ask, who is here for the very first time? Raise a hand. Okay, see? Okay, groupies, you need to be nice to the newbies here. All right, I want you to teach them how it's done. Turn to your right and say, we're going to learn something today. Perfect, okay. Now turn to your left and say, and downsizing is going to be easy. So the way we're going to do this is we will start introducing our panel, and then when we wrap up, we're going to save our questions and answers for the end. We'll do our evaluation. We'll do our, do we have raffle tickets today? No, okay, okay. One raffle ticket? Well, then we know who's getting the prize, right? We're changing it up a little bit, so moving forward, starting this month, the raffle prizes will go to the people that bring a friend for the first time. So your chances of winning will go up tremendously, I think. Okay, so I will introduce myself for those of you that are new and maybe don't know who I am. I'm Dayna Wilson. I'm a downsizing diva. I am a seniors real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty, certified senior housing professional, and I realized pretty soon when I got into residential real estate, that I love working with, I call them boomers and betters, people my age and better. And so I got additional certifications, education, and I realized there's a lot of information out there. People were maybe getting the wrong information, or maybe there was too much information, and it was very confusing. So we try to kind of condense that down for you at these seminars. So again, welcome. I have exciting news. We will be moving locations starting next month. So in January, all through 2024, we're going to be at the Walnut Creek Presbyterian Church. And there's tons of free parking, and we will have more room to spread out because we're getting a little cozy in here. And we've run out of room to have our tables in the back with the education partners and such. So we'll send that out in the newsletter. We'll send that out in the reminders. But the Walnut Creek Press, it's literally 1 block off the freeway, 5 minutes down the road. So I don't think it'll change our lives too much, but it'll give us a little bit more space. So just FYI, starting January 3rd, again at the Walnut Creek Presbyterian Church, the topic will be Aging in America, Stage, Not Age. So we're going to try to change the conversation about what aging really means, what it looks like, and how it might be different, how we can maybe make it different for ourselves. And then in February, we're going to talk about, we've never talked about this before, the truth about communicating with your adult children. That's going to be an interesting one. You know you're going to want to hear about that. So keep those in mind. Your evaluations, I couldn't put it on a brighter piece of paper if I tried, are on bright yellow. We ask that you fill those out. Tell us how we're doing. Give us feedback. Tell us your ahas. And then let us know if you want a consultation with any of the education partners or myself at any time, and we'll get you all hooked up with the right people. Okay, so let's introduce these wonderful folks. These are some of my very favorite clients ever. And they're here today to share what they have learned. They have downsized. They downsized their homes. They downsized their stuff, and they're here to tell the tale. And you can see they survived. They're here to tell the tale. So that's really quite positive right there. So, Gary's saying something he doesn't want the rest of us to hear here. Okay, so we have Pamela Benke, Gary Miller, Maggie Miller, Stan Hornberger, and Jack Kemp. And so they were very kind to give their mornings to you today to share a little bit about what they went through and how you can do it too. All right, so here we go. Okay, first of all, Pamela, describe where you lived before relocating, how long you lived there, and then where you currently live, and then how long you've lived there.
Okay. I bring a little bit of a different story than the rest of my panel mates because I moved across country. I lived in Minneapolis, St. Paul for 45 years. I'm Midwestern from day one, so I've always been in the Midwest. My house was, I was in my house for 44 years in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I made the decision to move over here or out here, and I settled in Rossmore after living a year in an apartment, deciding where I was going to settle. So,
Gary.
Hi. We are Bay Area natives. We were born and raised in the Oakland area. We came to Contra, Costa back in the 70s. We moved to Walnut Creek. We lived in our house there for 40 years and finally decided I had enough of a big house and a big yard and a pool to take care of and looked at Rossmore. It took us 2 years in Rossmore to find a place, but we finally found the place we wanted and made the move, and it's been good.
Maggie, anything to add?
I can't add anything to that, no.
Stan?
I've lived in Walnut Creek for 45 years, and I now live in Rossmore as well. Talking a little bit earlier, I lived in this family neighborhood for 30 years alone after a divorce, but I have met more people in Rossmore as a result of moving there in 1 year than I knew in 45 years in my neighborhood in Walnut Creek.
Yeah.
So it was a struggle moving,
Well,
and
we're going to
got here.
we're going to get to that in a minute. Can you hear them? Can you hear him okay? No. Okay. Oh. Would you move your microphones a little closer?
All right.
Yeah. Just a little closer. Perfect. All right. Jack.
Okay. I lived in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house in the Woodlands section of Walnut Creek for 50 years. And then in July of this year, I moved to a 3-bedroom condo in Cherrywood, which is a condo community on Treat Boulevard in Concord across from De La Salle High School.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, Millers, what were some of the key factors involved in your decision to relocate, and just be as specific as possible?
The house got too big. It was too much to keep up. There was just the two of us. And, is that better? Yeah. Okay. And his knees were coming and going, and we lived in a 2-bedroom. Sorry.
Scoot your chair up.
2-bedroom house. Better? Okay. We lived in a 2-story house, and it just seemed a good time to do something about it.
Okay. And it was a big house on a
It
really big lot.
Took us a long time to make up our minds
I
to
know.
do it.
I'm going to ask that question too, because I think that's always interesting to hear how long it took. Jack, what were some of the key factors in your decision to make a move?
Well, it wasn't when we became, it wasn't when we became empty nesters 30 years ago, and it wasn't when we both retired in 2010, or when my wife passed in 2014. Looking back, I think what started the process was when a thief stole my catalytic converter off my old Honda Accord that was parked in the driveway because I couldn't get it in the garage. That incident caused me to actually tackle the full garage that hadn't seen a car in about 30 years. And then, well, I'll talk more about that later, but the second reason was utility bills. In the summer of '22, I had a water bill of $150, had a water, yeah, I had a,
That sounds pretty cheap to me.
I had a water bill of $250, and I had a PG&E bill of over $400 because I was watering a lawn and I had air conditioning going in my 4-bedroom house where I lived alone. And I finally decided that I was also paying $150 a month to get my lawn mowed and my shrubs trimmed and so forth. So I finally decided that I really didn't need 2,000 square feet, and I didn't need 2 lawns to mow and water. And that's when I got serious about calling Dayna.
Awesome. Stan, how'd you make that decision?
Well, it was a lot of conversations. It started with a niece and nephew in San Jose and my son living in Discovery Bay. And it was sort of bringing up the, gee, Dad, that's just a big house for you to live alone in. And I finally got tired of trying to keep it clean, keep up the maintenance. I said, well, all right, but it was a lot of pushing from my family, getting me to recognize the fact that it was, in fact, time to move. And so I did. I found Dayna, and worked out just fine. But it was not without trauma. Boy, is that a scary thing to do. Yep.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. High praise. It worked out just fine, he says. I love it. All right. And I think we kind of know your main decision, but I mean, could you have stayed there?
Well, first of all, my husband passed away in December of 2019, and 3 months later, we all know what hit, COVID. So I was in my home grieving with no contact with anybody. It was just not a good time. And so my children, my daughter happened to move here from New York City. She lives in Pleasant Hill, and my son had already lived in Marin County. So I thought, this is it, I've got to do it. And so I did during COVID, and it worked out, but it's just, I don't know that I would have made that decision had all these things not come together.
And how long did it take you to make that decision? Was it like in the middle of COVID, or?
Yes. He died in December, and in July, I said, I can't do this anymore. So then I moved in October. So I had 3 months. So if you want to know,
Cross-country.
if you want to know about moving cross country in 3 months, I'm a good one to ask.
And Millers, it took you a while to come to the decision to really make this happen.
We did, yeah. We were reluctant to leave our home. I'm one of these people that do everything myself. We had done a lot of improvements to our home and our yard, and it was tough to give that up.
Does that sound familiar, men? Maybe, yeah.
And all my toys in my garage.
And the tools, and the
And
tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I think you started coming to these seminars pretty early on.
We've been
Yeah.
coming here for probably a good few years or better. Yeah.
Oh,
At least three.
Yeah.
At
oh,
least three.
probably more than that. But do you think it had anything to do, do you think your decision had anything to do with the fact that the Buckinghams moved first?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
No?
Dana's referring to our very close friends who decided to pack up and head to Florida. And I don't think that really affected. I think it just got to my physical abilities to do stuff in the house and the yard and the pool that I took care of. And it was just time to say goodbye to that.
And did you take, how long did it take? You said it was sort of painful. People were poking at you. Your family members were saying, Stan, Dad, Uncle Stan.
Yeah. It took me, well, from the time the conversations got serious, it took me several months to get around to contacting Dayna. And then it was a few months, and finally I said, well, I'm out of here. Back to this idea, it was COVID. It was part of it too. After COVID stopped, I thought, whew, free at last. And then, what are you going to do? Because I'm still kind of isolated in this family neighborhood, instead of among folks my age, people that I would see regularly. I've never played so much golf as I have in Rossmore.
It used to just be Wednesdays. I just knew I couldn't get a hold of Stan if it was Wednesday, because I knew where he was, unless I wanted to go rent a golf cart and track him down on the course somewhere. But yeah, definitely more golf going on.
Yep,
Right?
a lot of that. Yep.
Yeah. Jack, how long did it take you to really make that decision?
I probably started thinking about it, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, but really only got serious about it in the last couple of years.
I know Jack would call me and just ask a question. It was like the little bits of information that were probably, he's an engineer, right? He likes the details, right? And so I know it's a process. You don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to move. This is going to be great. It's a process. Okay, now we're going to get to it. You started it, Stan, so I'm going to come back to you. What were some of your biggest fears or concerns about moving? Because you brought that up already a little earlier.
Well, before the move, I was kind of blasé. I said, "Oh, I'm going to move," and then when it got down to actually moving, it was downsizing. Meant I was going to get rid of a lot of personal stuff. I asked my kids. I said, "All right, you guys want? What do you want?" They wanted almost nothing.
You knew that was coming, right? You knew that was coming.
Yeah, and so I was stuck with all these pictures and books and lots of stuff that was familiar to me, no longer familiar to my kids. And so I had, garage sale, giveaways, lots of donations, and I got it down to, where I thought it was, all right, this is manageable. I still had about twice as much as I needed when I finally moved into Rossmore. I still got stacks in one bedroom, but it's a work in progress. But so I guess there was ignorance before fact and reality, but it worked. Yep.
Okay, because when we talk about fears and concerns, it's those things that keep you up late at night. Like, how am I going to do this? Or what is this going to look like? Or, who's going to help me, right?
Yeah.
So what were your biggest concerns, Pamela?
Basically, my biggest concern was to downsize a 3,500 square foot house to what I knew I was moving to, an apartment, and then later Rossmore, which probably isn't about the same size as an apartment. But like I said, during COVID, it was a different situation for me. I had no help. I did have a very good friend who was my realtor, and she recommended a relocation service. They set up my entire move, the move part of it. They did all of that for me, and then I did most of my packing and getting rid of everything. But they came and packed up china, or not china, but glasses, things like that. So I utilized that service, not even knowing that that existed 3 years ago. My main concern was downsizing. And my husband was a woodworker. I had a woodworking shop. I had so much stuff to get rid of. I did it. I did it, and I'm so proud that I did it. But boy, oh boy, it was scary at the end. Yeah.
When you say relocation, is that what we would call an estate sale company or a
No,
move management
Yeah, it's
company?
probably called a move
Move
management.
management? Okay.
Yeah, it was called Rose's Daughters because evidently Rose's daughters needed help moving Rose. And so they, but they were instrumental in that. So I don't know what's available here, but I'm sure there's a lot now. Yeah,
No.
now.
So, and we've talked about this in past seminars where you don't have to do this alone.
No.
You don't have to be overwhelmed or worried. I think especially the men on this panel, these folks have more in common than they think because they're more do-it-yourselfers, which I can see it's like it's this need to do it yourself, but it's so much easier if you let someone else help you. This would be the time when then it's okay to say, you know what? I know I can do it myself, but gosh, maybe I will have someone come in and help me with some of this. So it can start with having an estate sale. It can start even before that with, I always, selfish plug here, call your seniors real estate specialist first. They should be the hub of the whole transaction. They'll know a good move manager or two to interview, and they'll give you the questions to ask them. They'll know the good movers, so will your move managers, the good estate sale companies, but everybody's situation is different, so it's not like you can just say, Dayna, give me a name of whatever. They all do things a little differently, and they work with maybe sometimes different types of clients. But a move manager or a relocation company will help you decide what you're moving, what you're taking with you, what's going to fit, right? It's what do you love, what do you need, and what's going to fit. And then deal with everything that's left over. A good move manager or organizer will also have a floor plan, do some space planning with you for the next place. Mm-hmm. So I think, and I don't even know if this is a question, but I'm thinking, did everyone here, I think everyone here moved first before they sold, is that right?
No.
You weren't living there when your home was for sale.
Well, that's true, we were not.
So you moved first,
we had
you moved
We moved
Right.
after.
You moved after
Like
because
2
you
days
moved away.
after it sold,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you two moved
I rented,
first.
then sold, then bought.
Yeah. Well, I'll get back to the estate liquidation. Would you do that again, moving twice? You would.
Yes.
I wouldn't do that.
I know, you told me that many times.
I know. So yeah, you wanted to move out so that then the house could be getting prepared, right?
Yes,
So you wouldn't have to live through painters and
right.
inspectors and all those things. And you rented a house, right? Not, yeah. And then he had the time to find the next place that he loved and then move again. But there's an expense involved and a hassle, right? Now, Mr. Hornberger here went and hung out with his sister for a while.
I did. I was totally naive about how long this process would take. just preparing the house for sale, me getting all of my stuff out of there so the house could be staged and for presentation. And luckily, I had a sister, I have a sister in Pleasant Hill. I said, can I stay with you for a few weeks? Well, that few weeks turned into a few months. But it worked out fine. I mean, we started bumping into each other more and more, but it was great to have a place to park, and I put all my furniture in storage and let Dayna and the contractors do what they had to do to get the house ready. And then I still had, once I selling the house was going to establish my budget for what could I buy as well. And so even that took time. So it wasn't something going on, at the same time. I was selling and looking. I was just selling, and then I was looking. So it was a long process, and it takes a while. And if you're thinking about doing this, be prepared.
Well, we can go as fast or as slow as people need. Realtors get calls. I got a call a week and a half ago from a family that said, we found a home we love. We weren't thinking of selling, and now we want to buy this house. And we want to put the home on the market next week. And we're going to do it. But it's like a whirlwind, If you have more time, take it. You don't need to be rushed. It's your choice. Go as fast or as slow as you need to. If anyone is rushing you, then maybe they're not the right people to be working with. Okay. Kind of went a little far afield, but back to the estate. Did any of you have an estate sale? Mm-mm. No, none of you.
No.
Okay, because that is not everybody has enough stuff for an estate sale, but once you've decided what you're taking with you, then an estate sale company can come in and look through. They don't even want you to take the things out of your closets or drawers. They want you to leave everything right where it is. They want to be able to pull it out. They know the worth of things, and they will tell you and they're all different. They all have different contracts. You want to make sure, how they're going to get paid. Typically, they get paid from the profit of what is sold. And in this area, it's usually about 45 to 50+% of the profits of the estate sale. But it is like a professionally staged and marketed garage sale, if you will. They've got databases. They do the marketing. They have the signage. They do the advertising. In some cases, they may even have security. They have the correct flow, room to room. Sometimes they will bring in some pieces from another estate that will be sort of a draw for people. And if they're doing it right and your sale starts, let's say, Saturday morning, there should be a line out your door and around the corner by about 7:30 in the morning, because they know the people that come to these sales, and it's a great thing. And they will then help you with clearing out the rest of the things that are left behind, and they'll do what we call a broom sweep. They'll broom sweep your home. So they won't do a deep clean, but what's left they'll try to consign or donate, and some things will be hauled away so that you have an empty home. But I don't think any of you ended up doing that.
No.
Now, the move manager can also help you with this. So you've chosen what you're going to take with you, and then you're going to, in a perfect world, if you can financially do this, if the stars align, which actually usually they do, and you can find the next place to move to, we always recommend it's easier on you. It is less stressful if you do move first. You take the things you're bringing with you and you get all set up. Your bed's made, your medicine cabinet's all set up exactly the way it was before. The art is hung on the wall. Your favorite chair is next to your favorite lamp. And there's your TV. You have it all set up. So you're all settled. And now whatever needs to happen with the home, maybe you're selling it as is, maybe, and even if you're selling it as is and you're not doing any major repairs, some people still may do a painting, they may do a deep cleaning. There will still be those pesky realtors that will want to be, of course, showing your home, coming and looking, bringing buyers, and every time you have a showing, it's best that you leave. So that's sort of a hassle. And then there's appraisers coming through, and there's a lot of going back and forth that's quite disruptive to one's life. And you may have people saying, gosh, Mrs. Smith, can I show your home tonight at 7? My sweet family lives in the city, and he doesn't get off work till 6, and they have to take Bart over. And there you are in your jammies, ready to watch Dancing with the Stars. I mean, it's just not convenient. So kind of things to think about that might make your lives a little bit easier. And then there's always wonderful local organizers that can help you get set up in the new place, get your new kitchen all set up, help you go through some of the things that you're not bringing with you. And again, so many places for donation and consignment and such. And then we have the auction galleries as well. So if you have 1 or 2 pieces that you feel might be worth something, we can connect you with the appropriate auction galleries. And typically they'll want a picture of something first and then determine if it's worth coming out and actually seeing it in person. And then they may be able to bring it to their gallery, and it might be part of an auction. And now most of the auctions are online, so you have people bidding from all over the world. It's kind of exciting. Okay, so we're going to get back to our questions here. Who didn't I ask about biggest fears and concerns? Did I ask everybody? Anything else to add there? Jack?
I need a rebuttal.
Rebuttal, okay.
Okay. My biggest concern was that I would have to sort and dispose of so much stuff.
Yeah.
I mentioned before the incident with having to clean out the garage. During that time, I discovered that there were boxes of things in the garage that I didn't even recognize. My wife had inherited a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it was furniture, wooden furniture, that we had had stripped, thinking that I would refinish it at some point, which I never did. So that took up a lot of space, but I was unaware that there were boxes and boxes of like her children's books, her high school annuals, on and on and on. Newspapers with headlines about 9/11 and all the earthquakes, and she saved all those newspapers. Generations of pictures, photographs probably of 4 generations, slides from our time in Europe, on and on and on and on. Well, I refinished the furniture and gave it away. That was the biggest thing I did to clean out the garage. And I could give away broken tools, and I could take old paint cans to hazardous waste, and took a lot of stuff to the dump. Those were the easy things. But these personal things, I don't think my wife ever discarded a Christmas card or a birthday card or a Mother's Day card. They were all, some of them had been carefully bagged by year and stored in shelves and drawers and boxes in the garage. Anyway, because of that, that was just my biggest concern about moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like going on an Indiana Jones expedition in your own house. Okay, what was the biggest physical challenge in relocating? And then how did you handle that? Gary?
I don't think we had a big physical challenge other than just getting rid of a lot of things in the house. We basically packed everything up. Maggie packed all the cupboards and closets and stuff. I kind of went through the garage. I kept putting stuff in the driveway and promoting it on Nextdoor or Marketplace to say, come get it, it's free. And it's amazing the number of people that will call you and they want to come check it out or they want you to demonstrate it. And I said, it's free, come get it.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you do this on your own, which these gentlemen did do a lot on your own, which I don't know if I recommend all the time. They never show up. So these people from next door or wherever, what are the other online things? They don't show up. They say, I'll be there at 2. And they don't show up. And that's another hassle that I found personally happened.
Yeah, it is a hassle because you wait around and someone says, I'll be there at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
Don't show.
And now you're missing Dancing with the Stars. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a problem. Physical challenges, Stan?
No, mental.
Yeah.
I really struggled with actually letting go and letting other folks do the work. And that was such a big thing for me. It was very difficult to stand back and let things happen. I think maybe during the move, I thought, it would have been easier if the house had burned down.
You didn't mean that.
And I kind of did, but because all of that stuff all that stuff in my house were anchors, and I needed to cut loose. Anyway, and I did. So it was more mental than physical.
So when you say anchors, were you saying like they were weighing you down or that they had anchored you to stay put?
They had anchored me to stay put. These are things that I had over 45 years, had put in place and anchored. And that was my environment. And letting go of that environment was a big deal. So that move to my sister's house, that was a good intermediate step, as a matter of fact.
Although I know you love your sister madly, but you did call one day saying, I think I've been couch surfing long enough. You've got to get me a house.
Their sibling stuff goes on forever,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're 7 and 5 again, right? Yeah. Weird stuff that happens. Okay, so you're talking about the psychological challenges. Was there anything else, emotional, psychological, that you guys dealt with that maybe even surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, I went through a very depressed stage at one point in the move, and I could physically not get around or do anything. And what caused it was maybe just letting go of all the things I had, or the actual move and the change of life. Don't know what it was, but it just took me down for, I'd say, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Oh, longer.
Okay.
Longer.
Still there.
And
You got over it.
was that during the move or after the move?
I think it was just as we moved to Rossmore, when we went into Rossmore. I guess maybe it was just that this is the next step in my life. Am I ready for this?
Yeah. It does. It makes you face some things that, it's easier not to think about maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
True.
Right? Yeah. Maggie, do you want to add to that?
No,
What
he said it all.
emotionally?
Emotionally, it's hard to give up because 40-odd years, you raised your family here, and
Now you're making new memories.
Yeah,
In a new
true.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always liken this to, you all, let's say most of you are living in your home that you've lived in for quite a while. Well, try to remember back on when you moved there. And it was a new place, and it just didn't feel like your place. It was still someone else's home. When you first move into a new house, it's like it's exciting because it's new, but it's not yours yet. And it takes a while to get used to. And then I think once you start having, for me, at least when you start having friends and family over, maybe for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or come over for a dinner or something, and then you're starting to make new memories in the new place, and then when you're meeting your neighbors and things, it's starting to feel a little bit more like home. So you've been through this before. It's just maybe in some cases it's been a while. And it's one of those big changes in life, like the big life changes, like, getting married, having a baby, getting divorced, a death in the family, moving. It's a biggie. It's a biggie up there. So we're not making light of it, but it is good to know all these people went through this, and they had those same feelings and concerns, and staying up late at night and wondering about things, and yet here they are. Here they are. So you were going to say something. Yep.
Well, I think the thing that bothered me the most was that I was getting rid of my husband's and my things, but I was doing it without him. And that was really hard, because I didn't want to do it, but it was something that needed to be done, and I didn't have that help. Maybe it went better because I didn't have that help too, I don't know, because I just had to do it and had to get rid of it. But on one side note, I was very fortunate. I have a very good friend in Minneapolis that her daughter was getting divorced, and she was moving to a townhouse with her children and had no furniture. So I got rid of 2 complete bedroom sets, all of my living room furniture, and a dining room furniture. She took it all. So if you ever can find that kind of a situation, or maybe a shelter, I was thinking about different things. During the COVID, I could not have gone that direction. But that's something to think about. Maybe there's a shelter that somebody's starting over, immigrants coming into this, whatever. That's a big thing to try to get rid of. And boy, I got lucky,
I also got rid of my gorgeous custom couch.
Oh, yeah.
$4,000 couch that it was killing me to get rid of because I loved it. And it was the most comfortable couch in the world. It wasn't going to fit when we downsized. And so I found a nonprofit that sets up apartments for people that have been, housing challenged or homeless, or been in shelters or what have you. They really do like to find nice things. So they don't just go down to the dump and get furniture. They want to set these homes up so that people can come home and feel proud about where they live. And that does make you feel good, right? That your things are being loved and valued by the next family too. So we heard little touches of how friends and family might have been involved in the decisions. I'm wondering to what extent you did listen to family and friends, and then was that a positive or negative aspect of the process, or was it maybe a little bit of both? And we're among friends here, so you can talk. You can tell us the truth. Did you?
I made the decision myself. My kids said, "Oh, everybody says wait a year until after your spouse dies," but it's just something that hit me, and I said, "Nope, I have to do it." And the kids were great. They were fine with that. They didn't have to force me to do anything. And so they were thrilled I was coming out here. So I did not have that problem with any of my friends or relatives.
But they supported you.
Oh, absolutely.
They supported you in your decision.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And now they get a lot of free babysitting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that's a plus right there. What about Millers? What about your family? I know your daughter's close by.
Our daughter lives real close by, and she was supportive of our move. She saw that it was time to make some kind of a move, and she says, "You guys need to get out of this house." Mm-hmm. And we reached that decision. We did get out of the house.
They were very supportive, very supportive. In fact, encouraging.
But not pushing.
No, not pushing, but, I saw a house over there, take a look, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Well, they were doing it the right way.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
They definitely were.
Because sometimes I know, and we've talked about this before too, that sometimes it's actually harder on the adult children to see mom and dad sell the family home. Mm-hmm. Have you heard that? Have you seen that maybe with some of your friends? Which it's so selfish on our part, right? But that's our childhood memories too. And I have had some clients say they really got a hard time from the kids that didn't want them to sell their home, thinking, well, where will we go for Christmas, Mom? Mm-hmm. But so we're here because we want to make sure you're the captain of your own ships, making the decisions for yourself. You did have family and friends that were
I got a lot of nudges.
A lot of nudges.
Yeah.
Was it positive, negative? How did you feel about that?
Well, I was kind of resistant at first, feeling like I was being pushed, but we had enough conversations as well that it became clear that, it wasn't my location that was important. It was our relationship with the family, and they simply weren't going to be coming for a big Thanksgiving dinner again. They were taking up those roles.
Yes.
And so my location wasn't important, but my happiness and ease of living certainly was. And they were pointing this out, that it wasn't going to get better if I stayed there. It was going to get worse. And the sooner I moved and relocated and reestablished myself, the better. Waiting wasn't a positive thing.
Wow. So he really, thank you. You just touched on two really, really important points that I always do ask people to consider. And that is a very hard question that I ask people. Do you think it will be easier or harder to move in 3 or 5 years? And then it gets really quiet.
Yeah.
Because we don't really want to say what we really think is true. But think about that. And then the other question that I ask people is, what does ready look like? Because it's sort of like when you go to you're shopping at a department store, and someone comes up and says, "Can I help you?" And what do we all say?
No.
No, we're just looking, right? So it's like, well, we know we need to make a move. We know we probably will need to make a move. We're not quite sure we want to make a move, but we're not ready yet. So then ask yourselves, what will ready look like? And only you can answer that. What will ready look like? And this is when you want to be really honest with yourself. And maybe you do want to involve your BFF that brings you soup when you have the flu, and have some talks about that. Maybe you do want to involve your adult children. Again, not asking for their permission, but asking them their thoughts, and tell them what your thoughts are, and just have conversations. Nothing needs to happen. It's just a conversation. But it gets people thinking, right? And then you want to know that they're going to be there to support you when you make your decisions. So it was mostly positive, you would say?
Yeah, it really was. It was sort of like, what's an analogy? Maybe like buying a refrigerator. You go looking at refrigerators and you say, oh, I want one of those, and maybe later, pretty soon. And when you finally buy it, you say, damn, I could have bought this a year ago and enjoyed it for a year longer than I did. And this was true of living and moving in and moving to Rossmore as well. I could have done this 10 years ago, and that would have been a really good idea.
Interesting, really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. You'd mentioned, the other thing you mentioned that I thought was a really good point that I would not have thought of is that we do hand the reins over to our adult children when it comes to the holidays. Like, we keep thinking, well, we're going to hang on to this 20-piece china set because the kids and the grandkids might come here for Christmas. But really, at some point, it's sort of nice to hand over the reins to them, saying, no, you know what? I'm not doing the big holidays anymore. It's too much work.
Right.
You are. Here, take my china. And your family was involved, Jack, because they were looking at places with you.
Yes, and I'll tell you about that, but can I tell you about my challenges? 'Cause
Sure.
you skipped me on challenges.
Oh, I didn't mean to skip you.
Okay.
Challenge away.
I'll be real quick.
No, you don't need to be quick.
My only mechanical challenge or physical challenge was that I decided that I only wanted to use a mover to move my heavy furniture, and that I would do the rest in my pickup truck. And I did. I did that. My family offered to help, and I limited them to only packing up my dishes and my son helped me move a couple of bookcases. Other than that, I did everything else. And I don't particularly regret that. I only moved 2 miles to my rental, and then again from my rental to my new house. I did it twice. But anyway, that was the physical. That was the only thing physical that I can mention. The emotional was, Dayna referred to this earlier. I had to decide whether I wanted to buy first and then sell, or sell first and then buy. And the thing that made the decision for me was that most of my money is in IRA funds. If I were to take out enough money to buy a new house before I sold an old house, I would pay taxes on all of that. I didn't want to do that. So Dayna told me about bridge loans. Yeah, you can own 2 houses at the same time. You can get a bridge loan to do that. I went to 3 different lenders and got their terms for a bridge loan. It would have cost me $40,000 in interest and fees and whatever to be able to buy first and then sell. I didn't want to do that. I was looking to downsize and put some cash in my pocket and not go to a bank ever again for a mortgage. That was part of my thinking. And so I said, I can rent a house for about half what it would cost me to do a bridge loan, move first, get out of the house, find a temporary place, which I did. I leased for 6 months because nobody wants to rent for 2 months or 4 months. And they wanted to lease for a year, and I talked them into 6 months. But that gave me a 3-bedroom house that had lots of space. I could put all my stuff in it. I didn't have to get a storage locker or something. And so that was my big emotional decision, the biggest decision that I had to make, other than buying a new roof. That was the most expensive decision I had to make, was to put a new roof on my house. But when the report listed the condition of the roof and said, these conditions normally indicate the end of life of a roof. And I thought, I am not going to leave that unfixed and I'm not going to sell a fixer-upper. So it was the most expensive thing that I did to the house, but it was also the easiest decision. As far as the kids, I told you what I allowed them to help with. They did help. Yeah, my daughter pointed out halfway through the process of buying a house that I hadn't put on my requirement list a garage. And yet she pointed out that how many times I used the garage for various things, other than putting a car in it, of course. And so I added it to my list, and I'm very happy with my 2-car garage.
And so what did you end up buying? You bought a
Condo.
a garage.
A garage that happened to have a house.
Happened to have a place to live.
Yeah, right.
Seriously. Yeah, we changed the whole, that's why we had these consultations. It's like, all right, what are the 5 things you have to have in your next house? What are the 3 things you would never, ever want in a house, ever? And then that's sort of your house, right? That is your house. And then halfway through, we changed our mind a little bit on what we were looking for, and then pretty quickly we
Right.
found something that fit the needs. So, that's part of whether your move, this is just strangely a coincidence that almost all these people move to Rossmore. That doesn't usually happen. Most of my clients are moving to an independent or assisted living community, senior living community. Some of them are, maybe the spouse is going to a memory care. Some are staying in one place and then their spouse is living in another. So there's all these different scenarios. More people than not that we work with, I think, tend to prefer going leasing month to month. But all of these folks just happen to want to turn around and purchase again. And one question I was going to ask them, and this is probably a good time to do it, it's not on our list, we didn't talk about it, but when you do that, my question to all of you is, and I don't know who wants to take this question first, is when you made that move, were you thinking, okay, I'm moving to this place, this next place, it's smaller, it's easier maintenance, I'll spend less time and worry handling it, but if I ever need help down the road in home care, or if I don't drive, or if something happens, will I bring that care in home, or will I be moving again? And I'm okay with that. So what did you all think about that?
I really hadn't thought.
Didn't even
about it.
pass your,
No,
cross your mind?
no,
Okay.
no, not at all yet, not yet.
Okay, okay. Well, and you've got a little bit of a different,
Yeah, we have thought about it. The move to Rossmore it may end up being a permanent move, and at one point in time, we'll have to bring additional care into our home to take care of us, or we're also entertaining what they call a continuous care retirement community. There's one being under development in Walnut Creek that we put a reservation in 3 years ago, and it hasn't even broken ground yet, and it's still 4 years out. So we don't know where we're going to end up, but Rossmore was a good stopping point. It may be the last one, but we know that at some point we're going to require additional care. And how we handle that, we haven't made that final decision yet.
but you have options, and actually where you live, you have the space that you could have someone come in and help.
Right, yeah, we do have an extra bedroom in our unit that could have a live-in care person.
Perfect. Okay, good. What about you, Stan? Did you think about that? That, you know, is Rossmore it? Or, gosh, down the road, I may need to move and I'm okay with that?
Well, you know, I'm sort of aware that, you know, at my age, gee, a heart attack could happen any time. But I'm living pretty well right now, playing golf a lot, feeling just fine. So no, I'm kind of oblivious.
You know, he's used that word before, hasn't he? Was that didn't you use oblivious earlier?
I did.
He's so mellow, though. Maybe I need to be more oblivious about things. I don't know. Okay, Jack?
There's one thing I learned about myself that surprised me
Okay.
when I was shopping for a house. When I go up to a large building, open a main front door, walk in, find an elevator, go up some floors, get off, walk down a hall, find a door with a number on it, and walk in, I don't even care how big the place is, how granite the countertops are, how beautiful the view is from the balcony. I don't want to be there. I'm not comfortable. I have a very negative feeling about that whole sequence of events, no matter how much parking there is free under the building or whatever. And I don't think it would matter to me if it were assisted living or just an apartment building or a condo building. I don't know, it surprised me, but it happened to me twice.
Just didn't feel right to you.
Well, you know,
Stan?
when Dana and I were looking at places in Rossmore, one of the criteria was, you know, do you want walk in level into the apartment or stairs? And I was saying, oh, you know, maybe, you know, something could happen, and I don't want stairs, and then so it looked at all places, stairs, no stairs, and then one place had a great view. I chose view. So I was still saying, I'll deal with stairs later.
Maybe a good thing, maybe not, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there's something called chair lifts, so
Yes,
that always
that's
works
right.
too. I've even had people say they put a chairlift in when they had a surgery of some sort, and then they left it in because they found it so helpful to send the groceries up the stairs on.
It's true.
Whatever, right? Okay. Would any of you done anything different? Looking back now, knowing what you know now? Jack?
A very minor thing.
All right.
I would have taken that large pile of books that I wanted to donate to the library and separated into 2 piles instead of keeping it in 1 pile when I carried it into the library, because I had a sore back for a week. That I would have done different.
Okay, small boxes. Do it in small chunks. Okay. So if you were to give these wonderful people, your new best friends in this room, in a similar situation to yours, any advice, words of wisdom, what do you want to leave them with?
Start early.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
plan early.
Plan early,
Start thinking about
start early.
downsizing
Yeah.
when
Think
you
about those
when you go home today.
Yes,
And you're talking about the stuff.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Well-
and then part of that is thinking about where you want to move to,
Sure.
right?
But I think if you have less stuff, it'll make the, you'll want to move maybe more so because, the stuff takes up so much time. And if it's gone or halfway gone, you're halfway there to looking for a new place. Honestly, that's the hardest part is the stuff. And
I
getting
have
rid of it.
such a good option for you. This is just, I'm playing off of what you guys just said. In January, we're doing a one warm coat drive. So I am here to personally help you make more space in your closets. And if you come across any coats, sweaters, scarves, jackets, or gloves that you don't need anymore that are in good condition, we will have a box next month at our seminar. And if you forget, we will come and pick it up between January 8th and 28th. So kind of be thinking about, look in your closets and say, okay, all those great panelists said, get rid of our stuff. What coats haven't I worn for a couple of years? So I'm just trying to help,
Those are the least of their problems.
Well, that's the part I can help.
Also, get rid of your children's stuff to your children as soon as you can, even if you're not intending to move, because it's just taking up so much room in a lot of people's houses.
Well, but I will say, and you know this too, that if you say now to your kids, come get your stuff, or if you say, I know you've always, Sally, I know you've always wanted this piece of silver or whatever, but you need to give them a time deadline, right? Because we're just people. So just say, if you want this, or if you want your high school yearbooks, or like in my mom's house, I had books from college, I had my cheerleading outfit, my candy striper outfit, I had all sorts I had toys in a toy box. If you want this, you need to pick it up no later than the end of January. And if you haven't come and gotten it by then, I'll know that you don't want it, you don't need it, and we will take care of it for you. Because if you don't do that, they're never going to come get it. But remember, they probably don't want it. They probably don't want a lot of things because they have their own stuff, right? Okay, so any last minute, anything last minute you want to share?
Yeah.
Are you glad you did it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I think you have to look to past the downsizing part of it, past buying your house, and look at it as really good adventure. I mean, I would never have done this had I not been prodded, and I'm really glad.
Yeah. And I mean, what would you say to people about giving yourself some time to get adjusted, give yourself some grace, some patience, because you're in a new place, and it does take time to get adjusted. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Just not
Definitely.
overnight, you don't feel like, okay, great, I'm home.
No.
Yeah?
I was just telling them earlier, I left my friends of 44 years and had to start all over. And I felt like I was in middle school when I first, moved to Rossmore. It was like, oh, can I have your number? Or, what entry are you in? Or, and so it takes some time, and you just have to live with that.
Yeah, give yourself some patience.
Give yourself
some
some
grace. Perfect. Awesome. They are awesome. We're going to open it up for your questions in a little bit, but first we're going to have Allison help us. We're going to collect your evaluations, so be filling those out, and then be thinking about the questions you want to ask. And who had the one raffle prize? We do? Okay. All right. Drum roll, please. La, la, la. Oh, I got to get my glasses. Why don't you, here, you don't need glasses.
All right, I have 4, 6, 6, 8, 1, 8. 4, 6, 6, 8, 1, 8. In the corner. Oh, she wants to pass it on. One more try. 4, 6, 6, 8, 1, 6. All right, it's Nancy.
Wonderful. Okay, this is a fun little, this is a day of man pampering. So I don't know who's going to get this, but it's blades. It's a custom place for men to get a shave, a haircut, and then there's some Aveda products in here too. So I moved my entire house and garage and everything, huge storage bin in 3 days, everything. So it can be done. It can be done.
Three quick, is this on?
Yes?
3 quick questions. First, or one comment. Gary, thank you for sharing the emotional part of your move. Emotions are very important. And Jack, what did you do with the yearbooks?
I don't know. I still have them. I've been in my downsized house now for 5 months, and I still have a lot of stuff to give away.
Downsizing to do.
And Dayna, would you please tell the name, share with us when you send your email to us after this meeting, will you share the name of that company who sets up housing for people in need?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure. All right. Any other questions on this side? You've got the subject experts here to ask today. And then you want to be moved, well, what do you want to do, Susan? Yeah.
This was the same question I had for Jack, but did anyone else encounter those boxes with old Christmas cards and love notes for over birthdays and old high school, college stuff? If you did, what did you do with them? What do you do with that stuff?
I threw them out. I had to. My son, when he came, he didn't want his things. He took pictures of them, and that sufficed for him. I got rid of a lot of photographs, books and books and books of photographs, and I think getting rid of that personal stuff was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it had to be done, and so you just have to determine what you want to bring with you.
No, that's a great point. You can take pictures of letters. You can take pictures of important things like that. You can digitize your photographs. You can put them all on CDs, DVDs. You don't have to have books and books and books of stuff. You will still have your photos, and actually they'll probably be more beautiful and more clear. And then you can see them on a big screen, and you can send them to your friends. And I think that's super fun. So think about digitizing all of those photo albums. And I've got the same ones. I'll come back. Oh, yes. Oh, well, okay. Well, let's do anyone on that side? Any other questions? Okay.
No, what I wanted to say is that in bringing up the digitizing old family photographs, they're so shareable then. there are often someone in the family who's the so-called keeper of the flame, who has old letters, old photographs, old documents. When they're digitized, they can be shared across generations.
Right.
What's beautiful is that there's so many services now that do this.
Right.
So if you have the slides, for example, which aren't as easy to digitize on even a home scanner, services do this, and then they can be shared. The hard part, of course, is sifting through the most important ones.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. That takes the most time. But if you do, I mean, there's a whole process of then shareability that did not exist even 5 years ago. So it is an opportunity, but thank you for mentioning that.
Another thing, I have a friend who is a relocation specialist, and she told me, get a box and start putting things in it that you think you want to save, that kind of memorabilia. And then you're going to look at the box again, and you're going to get rid of more until you have just a box. And that has helped me. It's been sitting in my closet. I haven't looked at any of it for 2 years. But I feel good that I didn't throw away everything, you know.
Yeah, you don't
So-
have to throw away everything. You're going to bring the things with you that bring you joy. You know, you've got to keep some things that, you know, are just part of life.